20 minutes after 11 o'clock, about a week or so ago, we had a gentleman in the studio, and he was a CIA agent. Remember, he was retired from the CIA?
Oh, yeah. Nice fellow.
And we couldn't get anything from him. I mean, you ask him a question about, he was talking about his book. Mm-hmm. But what goes on behind the scenes, I really can't say. It's like, oh, man. I want that. I'm just going to say that, whether I can or not. What do you do on radio? I'm not allowed to say. I'm just going to keep that a secret.
You go.
This is a really good book. Gunmetal Gray is the title. Wow, what a strong-sounding name, isn't it? Gunmetal Gray.
I know. It's a marvelous book.
Mark Greaney is a #1 New York Times best-selling author. You might remember the book called Backblast. So he's on the phone right now. In addition to being a very talented author, he's a researcher, and that plays into this whole thing. So let's find out about the book. We've got, a very short interview with Mark Greaney. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Larry.
You're welcome. Where are you calling from?
I'm actually in Houston today. The book comes out today, and so I'm doing a signing here tonight.
Gosh, you're the guy to go to if we have any questions about guns. Guns, right? I mean, that's your passion, right?
Yeah, I do collect a lot of, not a ton. Believe me, compared to some people, I'm small potatoes. But I have several of the weapons that I incorporate into the novels for sure.
Yeah. And do you yourself go shooting at all? Do you go shoot? What was that? We went into the pawn shop. They sell a lot of guns at our pawn shop here in Ocala.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Nice
Robin
selection.
Loves them. But you go there and say, I'm going to shoot clay. You're going to shoot clay. What are you shooting clay for? I mean, do you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, I do a lot of training with the firearms, like small quarters, battle stuff, and some of the longer stuff. I don't have any sniper training, but that's the next thing I want to get into.
So does writing? Let's see. When you're writing a novel like this, and I want you to help us understand what the book is about for the listeners. It's really a good book, by the way. And I'll get you to that in a second. But I mean, does your passion for this, for the military and for weaponry, does it come into the book because of your passion or because the story necessitates it? I don't know if I'm asking it the right way.
No, you are. I really got into firearms as I was researching a book probably about 10 years ago. I had just a little bit of experience, but I didn't own any weapons. And I started going to some places where they train civilian contractors, security contractors, to go over into the Middle East and train. And I started doing some different courses, and one turned to another and turned to another, and got really passionate about it. Started to get, got my first carbine and my first pistol, and now I've got a couple dozen probably in total, and I keep going to getting as much training as time allows and as my body allows as I get older.
We have a lot of political talk about the guns in this country on this show all the time, and not that I want to drag you down that road, but it just seems to me that more people are responsible gun owners. It's the few bad apples that make the news, that make the anti-gun people say we need to get rid of guns. I don't know. I think we are protected because the enemy. If there's an enemy out there, they know. Gosh, everybody in America has a gun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough subject, but at the same time, I do believe that the day that you say, all right, guns are outlawed, the bad guys with guns are really looking forward to that day, and those of us who are responsible gun owners, which is 999 out of 1,000. Since we obey laws, we'll be the ones to turn our weapons in, and then you'll just be left to the wolves out there, and the sheepdogs will be gone, and it'll just be sheep and wolves.
So I want to take that and bring the storyline of the book into this. It takes place, part of it, in China, and I don't think they allow private residents to own guns over there.
No, they don't. In Hong Kong, it's pretty verboten, but it's an action thriller. So the bad guys have the guns, and the good guy has what he needs. Yeah,
well, that's the good. So it's really a well written book, and I know we've got just a little bit of time. Can you give us like a movie trailer version of the storyline in the book?
Yeah, I can try. It's about a guy named Court Gentry who's known as the Gray Man, and in this book he is a CIA, let's say a contract asset who's been sent to Hong Kong to try and find a man who's on the run. He's a defector from the Chinese army, but he's one of the people in charge of their cyber warfare systems. So the Chinese are trying to silence this guy because he's defected and he has all the answers in his head to their whole program. And the Russians are after him, and the triads are after him, and other criminal gangs are after him, and pretty much everybody with a gun descends on Hong Kong and Thailand and Vietnam to try and capture this guy. And the American hero is sent in alone to try and do the same thing.
And there's always it seems to be you do have a woman character in there, so you do have that human element in your book. It's not just robotics.
Love.
Yeah, there's a little bit of love, but I mean, the character, her name is Zoya Zakharova, and she's as tough as they come, and so she is a perfect foil to the Gray Man. She's an asset that works for Russian intelligence, and she runs a team of Spetsnaz special forces troops that descend to try and capture the same guy that the Gray Man is after.
Oh, man, I wish she would jump out of your book and go to the other book called Gray, the one with 50 Shades. You know, she should and talk to that lady and just say, "Would you get out of this room? Stop letting that guy take advantage of you that way." Yeah. Get Court Gentry in there. They'll teach that guy a lesson.
I do have to admire your writing, though, sir. I mean, you really are a marvelous writer, and you are way below the surface level on everything. I mean, you seem to hit home all of the points, whether it's in war or strategy or dealing with the opposite sex.
Well, thank you very much. That's a great compliment. I appreciate it.
All right, so I have a copy of this book. You're going to love it if you get it. So call me, and I will give it to one of our listeners. It's really a large book. This must have taken a few years to write, unless you're one of those guys that does it really quickly. Let me see how many pages.
Yeah, I cranked it out. I crank them out. Yeah,
just about 500 pages. If you want the book, call me. I'll leave it for you. The rest of us will have to go buy it. Do you have a website you can direct us to?
Yes, please. Mark Greaney Books. My last name is spelled Greaney books.com, and you can find out all about me and my other books there as well.
And is the character in this book, is it a continuation of another book?
Yeah, this is book 6 in the series, but it's definitely a standalone novel. You don't have to read the first 5 to know what's going on. Yeah.
Well, you also have different series that you write about. How do you keep them from overlapping?
I also have collaborated with Tom Clancy on 3 books before he passed away, his Jack Ryan story, and then his family hired me to continue the story. So, there's 2 different series, and the Gray Man stuff is a lot darker and edgier and grittier, and the Jack Ryan stuff is more geopolitical. You spend more time in the Oval Office, so they're pretty distinct in my head. I don't have a lot of trouble discerning between the 2.
Wow.
But you still have your own personality, though, in the Jack Ryan novels.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it's the characters pre-exist me because Tom, most of those characters have been around since the '80s. But I've been a Clancy fan since the '80s, and I wanted to put my stamp on it. But I'm the steward of Tom Clancy's world at this point, so I realize I have a responsibility to keep the 2 things distinct.
I think I'm remembering now that you were on the show before with one of those books, weren't you?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Okay, I just sometimes, and that just shows you that the characters are so different. I don't know how you do it. Mark, thank you for being on the show with us today. Where are you right now?
I'm in Houston tonight.
Oh, Houston. That's right. Houston. A big gun town, isn't it? Big gun town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And today is the debut of Gunmetal Gray, so this is pretty awesome.
So we'll put this interview online. Gunmetal Gray is the book. The website is Mark's name, markgreaneybooks.com, and it's Mark, M-A-R-K. Greaney is Greaney books.com, but don't worry about it if you're driving. We'll put it on our Facebook page so you can just kind of copy and paste it or click on it, whatever you do. Mark, thank you so much for being on with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back.